My man. I know. I never thought I would be a my man, but here I am. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Imai and I wanted to give you guys a life update because I've been going through some things. Some things are changing here, some things are changing in my life, and I just wanted to keep you guys updated on what's going on with me, girl. So let's get started. Biggest change that has happened to me in the past couple of months is that I got a new job. I used to work at this very toxic retail store, and I worked at a store for older women. The customers were great, my coworkers were great, but my manager was not great. She made me cry on a regular basis because she was a micromanager. She wanted me to replicate her, and I can't be her. I can only be me and do my job the way I do it. I was doing it correctly, but I wasn't doing it her way. Like, I actually watched her train a new employee and tell that employee not to take her notes a certain way, even though those are her personal notes, and if that's how taking them is best for her, that's what should matter. But she was like, don't take your notes like that. Like, she was very much a micromanager, and it made me cry on a regular basis. And I did like the job. I liked the coworkers. I just didn't like her. And it was super convenient because that job, literally 2 miles away from my house, 5-minute commute. But after a while, I'm like, this is no longer worth it for me. Like, I would be spending so much more money on gas, less time at home because of a commute, but it's time for me to go. So I left there at the end of April, and then I worked at a lingerie store for about 3 weeks. They hired me to be the store manager of that location, but like, I guess like a store manager in training. Maybe she wasn't fully confident in my ability to just be the store manager, so they didn't hire me for the store manager. They hired me for a store manager in training, and then after a certain period they would promote me. That wasn't certain enough for me, because what, after 3 months you still feel like I'm not ready, you know? Like, do you find someone else who is ready, or do you continue to develop me? Like, too uncertain for me. But while this was happening, the same time I applied for that job, Sephora had actually reached out to me like, hey, I think you would be a good fit for this location. The Sephora interview process is long, and this was all happening at the same time as they were doing their that big sale that they do every spring. So my interview process was drawn out. So my first interview I did over Zoom, and it was for the location that reached out to me, and she liked me, and she's like, well, maybe not for this position, but maybe for this position. But my store currently doesn't have that position available. I'm going to reach out to the store manager at the location I'm working at now and see if she would like to interview you, because you are a good candidate and I don't want to lose you. So I reached out to her. I did my interview with her in person. Now, this is a whole separate situation. I talked about it in a vlog. The day after I left my toxic job to start at the lingerie store, my car broke down, and I accepted the lingerie store position while I was still waiting for Sephora to get back to me, because I really needed out of that toxic situation. Literally. I think I left my toxic job on Saturday. On Sunday, that car broke down, and I was supposed to start this new job on Monday. Mind you, I've never done that before. Like, usually I'll give myself a few days in between the end of one job and the start of another one, so that I have some time to, you know, establish a little bit of a routine, feel a little bit better, meal prep, like take some time to myself before I start a new job. This time I did not do that. So that Sunday my car broke down. And that was also the date of my second interview in person at Sephora. So it was like 11:30 in the morning. I was at the gym, and then I went to Aldi, and as I was backing out of my parking spot at Aldi, like, the car shut off. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Maybe the engine overheated, maybe it's too hot, whatever. So I turned the car off, turned it back on, and because to get out of my Aldi, you guys seen me go to Aldi a million times in my vlogs, I have to go down a ramp. And on the ramp, my car turns off again. And I'm like, oh, this is not safe. Mind you, my interview was at like 3:30. So I turn the car off, turn it back on, and I drive just far enough to get to another parking lot before the car shuts off again. Thankfully, this was a Sunday. I live in Bergen County. That business was closed, so I wouldn't have anyone come out and be like, what's your car doing here, blah, 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 blah. So I call my mom freaking out. I'm like, Mom, I have this interview in like 4 hours and my car is not working. Mind you, that Sephora is like 35-40 minutes away from my house, so that's like $70 each way for an Uber. And I didn't have, she was like, okay, Uber home, go get ready for your interview, but before you do that, call AAA, so by the time you get home, get ready and Uber back to your car. Hopefully the tow truck is there. That is what ended up happening. I Ubered home. I packed up all of my makeup because I know I didn't have time to do my makeup like fully like this before my interview. And I Ubered back to where my car was parked. When I called AAA, they said it would be about 50 minutes. I was like, awesome. So in that time, I just made it, you know, that was just the 50-minute mark. But on the Uber, on the way back to my car, they said, actually, since you're getting towed so far, because I was going to use the Uber as transportation to the interview, because they could, I'm sorry, not the Uber, the tow truck. I was going to use the tow truck as transportation to the interview because I could tow it to my mechanic that's where near the Sephora is. So I was going to use the tow truck as transportation. And they said, since you're towing it so far, it's going to take like 3 hours. Clock is ticking, babe. I don't have 3 hours. So I'm freaking out again in the Uber on the way back to the car. And I felt so bad because I was, you know, on the phone in the Uber and I hate to do that. But I was like, is there any other way? Like, there's no way. And she's like, all right, let me see. I pull up to my car and there's a tow truck there. And I was like, are you guys here for me? And he's like, yes. He's like, okay, awesome. Because on the phone, the lady just told me that it would take another 3 hours. And then the lady calls me back and she's like, no, like there should be a guy there now. And I'm like, yes, he is here. So he hooks my car up to the thing. I put all of my makeup in the car because I was going to tow it to Dominique's house, and Dominique, I'll keep it in her parking lot and then she can drive me to the interview, right? I got in the tow truck. The tow truck driver has his son with him, like his 3 or 4-year-old son. And that wouldn't be an issue for me if, one, I was notified ahead of time, and two, there was a car seat. This baby was in the car loose, like in the bed of the tow truck, just loose. And it was just so stressful. I like put it out of my head, but like, dangerous situation for your son. But maybe, you know, he couldn't have childcare at that time, whatever. Still unsafe, but essentially not my business. So I am in this tow truck, he's, you know, driving, whatever, and then he starts trying to flirt with me. Thank God I always bring my big headphones everywhere with me because I literally put them on and was listening to interview tip before I got to this interview, just to avoid like the awkwardness of him trying to flirt with me in this tow truck bed. And it was still very uncomfortable because it's like I have nowhere else to go. Like I can't walk away. I can't, like, I'm in this tow truck bed. Like I can't escape you trying to talk to me right now. So that was a whole different uncomfortable situation. And he eventually like gets the hint and stops talking to me. But his son is like asleep and he's like slouching onto the floor of the tow truck bed. And it's so dangerous. No seatbelt for this child. Just literally just loose in the tow truck bed because there's not a middle seat. It's just my seat. It's like a bench. It's my seat and his seat, the tow truck driver's seat, but there's no middle seat belt. So this kid is just literally loose in the car, like 3 years old, no older than 4. So he tows me to Dominique's house. And as I'm getting out of the car, he's like, okay, you're gonna have to pay for the toll, which I know with AAA, like you have to pay the toll if you are towed to a place where there is a toll. But I take the route that we went all the time and there is no toll. But at this point I was so desperate to get to my interview because I was pulling up to Dominique's house at about 2:50. My interview was at 3:30 and my makeup was undone. So I would have to do my makeup in the car. So when we pull up to Dominique's house, he's like, you have to pay the toll. And I'm like, okay, how much is the toll? I'm thinking like $3, $4 because we didn't go over a bridge. Like we were just on the highway. But I know the route that we took has no toll. So he was like, oh, it's $41.50. I'm like, okay, like, can you send me the link to my, is AAA gonna send me the link to my email so I could pay it through the email? He's like, no, you have to give me the money now. I'm like, okay, how do you want it? He's like, okay, well, you can give me cash or you can Zelle me. So I had $20 in cash. I gave him $20 in cash, and then I did the other $21.50 through Zelle. And when I put in the phone number for the Zelle, it just said his name. But at that point, I'm like, as I'm giving him this money, I'm like, I know I'm being scammed right now. But I was so desperate to get to this interview on time that I was like, it is what it is. So I gave this man this money and he just drops my car. I am bringing all of my makeup into Dominique's car, doing my makeup in her car as she's driving me to this interview. Almost drives me to the wrong Sephora because I wasn't clear enough. Sorry, girl. But then we have to whip around and then she takes me to the right Sephora. I crushed that interview and I was straight up with her. I was like, girlie, if I seem a little off, like my car broke down, I had to take a tow truck here. And she's like, girl, we could have rescheduled. I was like, no, I want this to look like I am diligent and persevering. Look at what kind of employee I am. So I crushed my interview, but I was gonna text Dominique when I was out of my interview, like, hey, interview's over, because it took like 45 minutes, because like maybe she could go in the mall, get some food, whatever. And I was supposed to text her like, hey girlie, interview over, but I left my phone in my car at her house. But I nailed the interview and that's all that mattered. Also, I'm in editing. I just wanted to add that yes, I did report the guy to AAA for stealing my money and endangering his child. They called me maybe like a week or so after I did the report, like, hey, just want to grab some more information and then we're going to follow up with you. I gave them the more information. They did not seem to care about the fact that they stole my money, but he did care more about the fact that the child was endangered, which is good. He was also flirting with me inappropriately. I think I mentioned that, but yeah, never ever got a call back. He was like, yeah, call me if you need anything. We will be following up about this. And they fucking didn't. Thank you, Victor at AAA. I did my third interview like about a week after that, or a week and a half after that. And it was a third Zoom interview with now the district manager. So I interviewed with a manager at the store that recruited me, and then this different store manager that they thought I'd be a better fit for this location, and then the district manager as a kind of final, like, okay, I know who this girl is. Let's see if I like her. It didn't even really feel like an interview. It just felt like a, I'm putting a name to a face. Two other people like you. Why would I say no? At like, you know, kind of thing. It was just like a, let's see who this girl is before I hire her. And it was super chill. She was really nice. She asked me like generic questions, so it still kind of seemed like an interview. But maybe a week, I don't even know if it was a week. A few days after that, I got the phone call. Thank you. You are hired at Sephora. Here's your background check that you have to submit, and then we'll go through with all the paperwork and stuff. I don't know why. Like, first of all, I was so excited, but I don't know why I didn't think I'd pass the background check. Never been to jail, never been arrested, never even like remotely got in trouble a little bit. So I don't know why I wouldn't pass the I thought I didn't pass the background check, but I'm like, I'm not going to be happy until this background check comes back clear and they're like, okay, we're sending you the paperwork. But I was still kind of excited because I know the number that they said that they were going to give me, and it was even like few dollars more than what the lingerie store was giving me as their store manager in training. So, and I'm not even like an assistant manager or anything at Sephora, right? Like, I'm on the management team, but I'm not like one of the higher ups of the management team, you know what I'm saying? So I was super excited that I finally got the job. And then I started there May 20th. So I went to this other location. I was supposed to be training there originally for 1 week, but the store manager who did my second interview, the whole tow truck saga, she had abruptly quit. So they were training a new store manager there. So they were like, we're just gonna keep you here for a second week because you are going to get caught up with that other training. And then I don't want you to feel neglected in your training because of course training a store manager is way more important than training someone who's like lesser on the management team, right? So I was there for 2 weeks. Literally, the store brand new, like maybe a few years old. All the store's so clean and pristine and gorgeous, and everyone there was so sweet, so nice. Like, I got so much gratis the first 2 weeks of me working at Sephora, and then the day that I left, the day that I was supposed to go back to my store that I was actually hired for, they bought me flowers, they gave me more gratis, and then the store manager actually cooked a full meal, like pasta with garlic bread and meatballs. I couldn't remember the meatballs because I don't eat pork or beef. I don't even know what meatballs are made out of. Like, that's how much I don't eat pork or beef. And so I didn't remember them. And then she also made a tres leches cake, which was delicious. So that was like such an amazing experience training at that store. And that's the store that I got Shira hired for because one of their leadership members had stepped down because I think they were going to like a big girl job in like an office, like using their degree. And I was like, I know someone who could come here, and it was my girl Shira. So they were there, they interviewed, they liked her, they hired her. So I'm like, awesome. Both me and my girl are hooked up in Sephora. So that's the job update. I've been at my store now for a month and a half, and I really like it. Work-life balance is kind of tricky just because, like, well, it's actually not too bad, but my commute is 35 minutes. So that is a little bit hard because it's like I can't just get out of work and go straight home and like relax like I used to do when I worked 5 minutes away. Like, there is a drive, but I have worked in that area before. Like, for pretty much most of the time that I've been living in this apartment, which is like 3 years now, I've only had like 2 jobs that were in Jersey. The rest of my jobs were there, so not too bad on the commute. Like, it's not anything that I'm not used to, but we're transitioning from new job talk to new apartment talk. That is my biggest goal right now, which is moving out of this apartment. You guys saw that in, what did I call it? Cleaning my apartment while I complain or something like that. There are a ton of problems with this apartment. I generally don't feel safe here. I'm down here by myself. Like, I do have Ashley and Shira down here, but the majority of my friends and family are up in New York. So it's like, I would rather drive down. And Ashley and Shira and I and Nicole, we don't get together as often as I would like to. So it's like, I would rather drive down here a couple times a month than to drive all the way up there to see all my friends, my like closer friends, on a regular basis. And plus also, like, ew, my man's up there. So like, I would love to be up there. Like, that's where I want to raise a family. I want to go back to New York. I'm from New York. I'm from that area. So it's like, I want to be up there. I'm more familiar with that area than here. My grandma's up there. Majority of my friends are up there. My man is up there. Like, I want to be there. And it's like, I want to start creating the stepping stones to be comfortable in my 30s. I'm 25 now. Like, I can't just keep winging life. Like, I need to live with intention. Moving up there is something that I have wanted to do since I was 17. Well, when I was 17, I was living there, but there's this condominium complex that I have been wanting to live in since I was 17, like literally in high school, stalking these condos because they were so nice, they were affordable, and like, this just somewhere I want to be at. So that is the next goal, which means I need to be popping on my social media as well. It is a shame that I make money from social media and I'm neglecting this platform, especially when it's like, one, it's an extra source of income, and two, I have people who are ready and willing to watch my videos, which kind of ties back to my Sephora. See how it all connects? That I'm getting all this gratis, and it's like, look at all of these products that you're given for free that you can make videos with now. Like, and I have gotten so much gratis, and I haven't even gotten my like official Sephora gratis, because we order gratis 3 months out. So I would have to be in the company for 3 to 4 months to receive my first one. So I started May 20th, but I passed the threshold to order for August, so my first one's gonna be in September. So I'm gonna have all these new products that I can use in videos, and it all ties back together. And I don't know if I told you guys before, but I got a like an astrological reading from my friend Lori. She's I don't know if it's called an astrologist or an astrologer, but she is into astrology now. She like went to school for it for a while, and she gave me a full reading, and she said this year is a big focus on love, money, and beauty. And it's like, love, my man. I know. I never thought I would be a my man, but here I am. Money, because I got this new job making more money, and beauty, which is duh, I work at Sephora, and also I have a beauty channel. So it's like, I can see things already sort of falling into place, but she also told me that I need to be careful with overindulgence and have to live in moderation, because I do have an issue with like I might indulge too much and then get myself into some trouble. And I can sort of see that starting to happen financially now that I am making more money. So like, I've been watching my Caleb Hammer, and we're trying to get our money on track so that I don't have to renew my lease here. In the beginning of May, okay, let me bring it back even further. In November 2022, I was getting ready to go to Dominique's wedding. And on my original lease, it was an 18-month lease, but the 19th month was free. That 19th month was supposed to be October 2022. But of course, who the hell remembers that from 18 months ago? So I paid it because I was used to paying my rent. When I realized, I was like, oh my God, I was supposed to get that month free. Mind you, Dominique's wedding was November 4th. I was flying out like November 1st or 2nd or something like that. And I was like, I would love to not pay my rent because that's $1,000 something extra dollars that would be in my pocket when I'm going to Jamaica, when I'm going out the country. Like, I don't want to pay my rent and I'm not gonna. So I had to like literally, I was blowing up their phone. I was banging the door down. I was emailing, like someone give me permission to not pay my rent because I paid you when I wasn't supposed to pay you, credit it for this month so I could use my money in Jamaica. And literally it got to the point where I would call them like 6 times a day, 7 times a day. They didn't answer. And then I just emailed them one day like, I'm not paying it. And they're like, okay, we just received permission from the landlord. Like, you are being credited for this month. Bitch, I wasn't gonna pay it anyway. Then they were supposed to send me a new lease in December 2022. So they called me, they said, hey, we're raising your rent this much. We're gonna call you when your lease is ready for you to come down to the office and sign it. I said, okay. They never sent me the new lease. They never mailed it to me. And they never called me to sign it, but they still increased my rent. Illegal. But guess what? I paid it anyway. Why? Because I pay like a very, very cheap amount to live here. Like a scary cheap amount to live here. So I was like, I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to pay it. And they didn't send me a new lease. Awesome. I'm month to month until I'm ready to go. May 1st, they realized, oh snap, we forgot to send Shorty a new lease. They sent it to me, taped it to my door, and they said, you have 30 days to return this or get out. And also we're raising your rent because the last time they raised my rent was November or December 2022. So they said, we're going to raise it since we didn't raise it in 2023, we're going to raise it for 2023. And then since we didn't raise it at the beginning of 2024, we're going to raise it for 2024. So now I'm paying like couple hundred, few hundred more dollars than what I was paying before, because in my county, in my city, you can do that. In my city, you can retroactively raise the rent because you forgot to raise it last year. They're allowed to do that. Well, in my case, for the past 2 years, they're allowed to do that. I looked it up. I was gonna fight it, but then they were like, no, that's allowed. I called like even the city and they're like, no, that's allowed. So what was I even getting at with that? So yeah, I signed that new lease and I said, now you have 1 year to get out of here because I'm not letting them increase my rent again for an apartment that I don't feel safe in, that I'm not going to lie to you guys, I've been hiding it for so long, but I have pests in this apartment. The walls are so weak that I have this calendar on the side of my fridge where I keep track of like my bills, events I have coming up, whatever. I had to actually get magnets and stick it to the side of my fridge because the walls are not strong enough to hold thumbtacks. My radiator that's screwed into the wall has fallen out of the wall because the walls are so weak. My towel in my bathroom that was like the towel rod that was like screwed to the wall has fallen out because the walls are so weak. That's the main issues, but the biggest issue is the pests in this apartment. I have tried the gels, I have tried the powders, I have tried the essential oils, like I've tried all of it. There's no getting rid of them. And I live in a heavily Spanish speaking city, so my neighbors mostly don't speak English, but I have one neighbor above me who does, and I ran into her in the hall once and she was like, these pests are insane. And I was like, I know, like it's ridiculous. And she's like, I've tried everything. I'm like, me too. They sent an exterminator here one time and he was like, oh, you already have the stuff I was gonna put down. Yeah, because I've tried everything. So I am not renewing my lease in this apartment. We are on our YouTube grind to get out of here. Our TikTok grind, our YouTube grind, our Instagram grind, like we are really needing to get out of here because at this point it's dire. I'm 25. I don't want to live in a studio apartment anymore. I want a 1-bedroom. So that's really it. Those are the 2 biggest developments in my life. My Cully, he's wonderful. My Cullen, he's sleeping on the bed right now. But yeah. Oh, and my fitness goals before my battery dies. I need to get on top of my fitness. I have gained so much weight. I don't know if it's happy weight. I am the heaviest I've ever been. So we're getting a whole bunch of fitness content. We're getting a bunch of lifestyle content. Beat TV may return. I have been itching to do it, but it's not going to be a constant on my channel anymore. want to think about the brand that I'm trying to curate for the future, and yelling at cartoons is really not a part of that brand. It's not really too marketable, and it's really not anything that I want to do long term, but you will be getting them because I have been itching to do them. I see you guys comment on my old ones and I'm like, damn, let me pick up my camera and do that again. But really, I'm just growing into the woman that I want to become and documenting it all, and hopefully you guys stick around to do that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We're going on a life journey to be a proper adult and live comfortably. So we're gonna implement some of those discipline tips that we talked about last time. And that's all I really have to say for now. We're picking up the camera again because I think we're gonna do some Reddit stories, and you'll get that when you'll get that. But that's really all for right now. I gotta let this battery charge, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.